We want to welcome in Indiana Congresswoman Erin Houchin. Listen, I have to just say, quite frankly, Congresswoman, when we're talking about the economy, it sometimes takes a while. You can make some policy changes. Sometimes you nibble around the edges. Sometimes you dive right in there. And it takes a while for people to actually feel it. Even though the prices, frankly, I think if you look at the numbers, they are down across the board. Is that fair?
It is fair, Kevin. Prices are down across the board. Even if you look at shelter costs, they're down to the lowest level in 4 years. It will take us time to undig ourselves from the Biden economy. We are still trying to do that. Thankful President Trump and House and Senate Republicans are always working toward the affordability answers. You've seen it in some of the things that he's already done, but it's going to take time. You can't put 20 million illegal immigrants across the southern border and not expect to have some of these issues. You can't expect the economy to recover immediately after putting trillions of dollars in the mix after COVID, during and after COVID. It's going to take time, but we have the policies that are going to move that forward. The Democrats always, if you hear them talking, what they're going to say is something that they want you to believe they're doing, but actually they're doing the opposite. Look at the Affordable Care Act. It was not affordable. It's unaffordable. The Inflation Reduction Act was not an inflation reduction.
It's funny how you mention that. Sometimes the name means the exact opposite of what they claim it will actually end up doing. Your colleague, Speaker Johnson, sort of alluded to that, this idea that you had a bit of a hole to dig out of. Listen to his comments, especially as it relates to what happened during the shutdown and how that, too, impacted the economy.
It did cost us real percentages on the GDP. It cost us probably trillions of dollars when it's all said and done, literally. I mean, it's the longest shutdown in history, as you noted, and there are real consequences for that kind of nonsense. And it's going to take us a while to get back, but we're right back at it.
Right back at it. So what's your message to the American people when they say, okay, I know the president did what he could do with respect to the executive orders on Friday, again, scaling back or rolling back some of the tariffs on common grocery items. What are congressional lawmakers doing right now?
Well, yes, that's a great question. I mean, I think we do have to focus on housing and healthcare affordability. But let's be clear, the Democrats' program, Obamacare, did not result in lower cost. It was not affordable. Now the Democrats are asking us to continue to subsidize an already broken program and to add a subsidy on top of that. The subsidies they were fighting for in the government shutdown were not subsidies that were going to go to the American people. Those go directly to insurance companies to increase their bottom line. We do need healthcare affordability. I think the president is right to look at health savings accounts, to look at giving these resources directly to the American people so they can have the power of choice, and to increase transparency in the system and remove the middleman. We have PBMs and in the healthcare system, anytime you add a middleman, it drives up cost. And we are looking at increasing transparency, lowering costs, getting PBM reform, all of these in a healthcare package that actually is bipartisan. We hope that the Democrats will continue to support these initiatives as they did when Biden was the president and not go back on those promises simply because they don't like President Trump.
You know, and that's an excellent observation, too, because sometimes a good idea can come from the other party. And if it's a good idea, maybe as leaders in Congress, you ought to at least consider that. I know that's been the message from the Republicans to the Democrats, and some of them seem to be coming about, others obviously not so much. Very quickly, I want to get your take, maybe 15 seconds or so, on this from Politico. Republicans in Congress lukewarm on the Trump idea of tariff rebate checks. I personally love that idea, but I'm like most Americans. Your thoughts on that, 15 seconds.
Yeah, I would say that my constituents would certainly appreciate any economic relief that they can. The tariff revenue is something that we have not seen really in my lifetime to this level, and I think it can benefit the American people. I am a little bit cautious about the economic impacts anytime you throw money in large quantities to the general public. Sometimes that can cause an inflationary reaction. So we'll watch it, but certainly our constituents are excited that they potentially could get some tariff relief through this support from President Trump.
Well, listen, if you're bringing in the revenue by way of tariffs and you want to spread the wealth a little bit, if that works, I think that's a novel idea, and I think you nail it. Ultimately, as the chief executive, keep coming up with ideas. Let's see what works. The president has been aggressive in that respect, and I know you'll continue to do as much. Congresswoman Houchin, thank you for your time this week, and have a great one.
You too. Thank you.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.